We're live.
Hey, Mr. Q. Hunter?
Hunter.
Come on. You're cute.
There it is.
That was Hunter saying we're live from Keeler.
There we go.
On another lovely day. We've been having a lot of nice days. Now, it's a little windy today, so again, we might have some trouble with the sound. And we'll remind you that if you can't see the up-close images because Facebook refuses to upload in HD, we will be uploading a high-quality video of this for you. Okay.
Into YouTube, and we'll leave the link in the comments.
And we'll leave the link in the comments. So, we remind you once again, Keeler Gardens, if you're on the northwest side of Chicago, or if you happen to be on the northwest side of Chicago, if you live here, even if you don't live here, if you happen to be driving by or walking by, we're north of Addison on Keeler Avenue. Please come visit us. All you have to do is walk by. Public street. There's no worries about gatherings or distancing. Just walk on by. It's just a beautiful place to be. Let's get connected with nature. Let's all improve our mental, physical, and emotional health. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So,
what is the question today?
What do you mean? What is the question?
To weed or not to weed? That is the question. You said that was the title. So
the reason that we start out our talks here with a little brief excerpt about what Keeler Gardens is about is to remind you. We're hoping that you'll get something of benefit out of this, to learn, to ask questions, to experience, to expand your knowledge, just to enjoy. And before we finish up, we'll tell you some of the other programs we have to offer besides this once a day little live session here, which we may have had people out joining us, helping us with these steps, but hence not until we are allowed to all work together again. So the question today is to weed or not to weed.
That is the question.
That is the question. So generally, when we talk about weeds, for those who are avid gardeners, you probably would consider a weed. Anything that you don't want in that space is a weed. For new gardeners, it's the same statement. If you're deciding that you only want roses in this space, everything else is a weed. But for new gardeners and seasoned gardeners alike, which probably know more about this, there are specific plants that are weeds and need to be pulled because they can overrun. Okay, so there's two kinds. There's the kind that nobody likes, then there's the kind that people do like. So for example, something that can overrun that might be considered a weed is mint. I love mint. We all eat mint. A lot of people like mint. But when we grow mint, because of the way it runs through a garden, it can have detrimental effects. So it is often considered a weed.
Which is why on the left side there, your right side, our left, stage left, stage right.
That we and we also have some in the back that we allot for mint, and some other plants that grow like mint in the mint family. What mint does, and this is how some weeds are so insidious, is they grow down and root, and then they send a root this way, and then it becomes a new plant.
Do they ever send the root the other way too?
They can send a root that way.
Wow, I can see why it's so.
Mint can do is mint goes up, and if it gets too tall and lanky, it'll fall over. And that stem will root and root and root. And then those roots go out and make more plants. So that's why weeds have to be controlled when there is a concern that they will take over a space.
But it doesn't work in all situations because that's how grass works.
Right. But you like grass is one big weed in a way.
Yes.
And you like it to just take up a space. But over here, for example, if you notice, we've got a few tufts of grass that we've been trying to make this a walkway, and we're not going to bring a lawnmower or a weed whacker just for these tufts of grass. So what we're allowing to happen here is we're allowing the clover, which can be considered a weed, to take over.
So in this situation, the grass is the weed.
And the clover is not. Now, clover can be considered a weed in some areas because it can do this. It can form a mat and trample things out. And you don't want it to choke out your plants of choice. But in this case, because we have our beehives in the back and clover makes a lovely flower that is a great source for food for the bees, we don't mind at all. And if you step on it, who cares?
Just got photobombed by a cat.
So Hunter is making her
Pay attention to me.
Her debut. So as you can see in this walkway, we may or may not pull every single blade, but if it gets out of control, we'll just pull that out.
Now, but again, for an intentionality point of view, the clover, we can walk on this and it's really not gonna go anywhere, is it?
So what'll happen?
It's pretty hardy.
It's pretty hardy, but if this was to be walked on like a sidewalk, like every day by several people, eventually we would kill it.
Right.
But because we don't walk on it that much and people tend to stay on the main
it's
path,
taking over and the grass is.
It works great.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we come through here a little bit further, you'll notice this other plant over here. This is called liriope. All right, I gave it a haircut. That's why it's got this sheared look to it. It's not supposed to be like that. It was getting very brown, and so we cut it back. This is liriope. This is planted. This is on purpose because this makes a beautiful flower in the summertime. But if you notice, this is also liriope, right there. So what has it done? These guys have rooted. They've sent a shoot, and now that shoot wants to come up here. And there's a little bit over here too. If I'm not careful with this is all going to be liriope. And then it's going to be over there, and then it's going to be over there. So periodically, I just take my little weeder and I just pluck the ones that have come too far out.
I'm not following your hand because it's moving way too fast.
Oh, okay. Well, right, left, all around.
There we go.
Idea. Now, and back here, you'll see these are violets. So many people feel that those pretty purple violets are weeds. I don't care because they just make little clumps and they go in shady, empty spots and nobody cares.
Until they are where they're not supposed to be.
Well, see, in our garden, it doesn't really matter. What we do here is so experimental and for the experience and for the pollinators and for the natural sort of displacement of everything. If we have one random violet over there and one over here, it's no big deal for us. For some, if it disrupts your design, you can pull it. Now there is a yellow violet,
yeah,
which is not it's not actually a violet. It's I think it's called like a lesser poppy or something like that. I'm not sure what I can type the name. I'll get the name and type it in for you. That one's a little different because that one, what it does is it makes a root system, and like these other ones, it has like a sort of a little bulb at the bottom, like a little tuber of sorts. And when you try to pull it out, if you pull the stems and not that whole chunky base, then it just keeps going and it keeps going and going. And that one can really take over quickly. That is not one, for a while we thought, oh, this is pretty, maybe we'll leave it and just leave it as a natural thing.
Nope.
Not that one, because it's going to take over. It's going to be too much. And so I know I'm throwing a lot of different things at people. Just every day, if you're in your space or if you see something and it doesn't belong there and you don't want it there, pull it out. Every other day,
also,
every week, whatever.
One of the things is we're talking about for everybody that it's a weed if you don't want it there. And also kind of the invasive nature of something is when you go to plant something, ask whoever you get it from how it does.
So that's another...
chameleon plant!
So that is actually a twofold story. So the first part of that story is whenever you get a plant from anyone, even if it's from a nursery and you plant it, let's say you bought a rose bush and you planted it, you want to make sure that you're looking around the top of that plant and make sure there aren't any weeds growing in there with it. A little clover, a little mint. Who knows what seed?
In the pot before you even pot it.
Before you even plant
it.
Before you even plant it. That's even from a nursery. Now, when you're getting plants from people, it's even more important that you pay attention. So, for example, can you focus over? I'm going to step around. You just focus down here, okay? Just right here.
Okay.
See all this, guys? These are all hostas.
Okay.
So at any given time, I might take a chunk of these hostas out and give them away because there's so many of them and they're very easy to share, and everyone loves hostas because they're easy to grow. Okay. But right over here, here, there are some weeds in this grass, and one of those weeds is creeping Charlie, and the creeping Charlie jumps. Creeping Charlie doesn't travel like mint travels.
It creeps.
Travels like almost like a strawberry. So you get a little growth, and then it roots, and you get a little growth, and it roots. So it jumps into these hostas. So when we're cleaning this out, or if I was to give you some, I would have to make sure that I pulled out every little bit of that creeping Charlie, because all those pieces and parts, the stems, the root, it's going to make more creeping Charlie. It's going to root and it's going to make more.
Is that the one also that... Never mind, I'll talk about that later.
So if you find anything that doesn't belong, especially if it's running, just find the end, get underneath it with a weeder or a soil knife or a rake or a pruner, and just pull the roots out, okay? Now,
let me give an example of this is a potted plant, and right here... Again, I don't know if that's going to be a huge weed or anything like that, but
it's gonna be.
You never know what comes with.
And then there are a couple of weeds that, let's see, we'll go in two directions. So the first direction is the weeds we all know. For example, thistles, like milk thistles, the ones that have the spindly, pokey leaves.
That you step on once in your bare feet as a child, and you know to avoid them.
Or dandelions, for example. Everyone recognizes those. Okay, so both of those flowers are actually pretty decent sources for pollinators. So all you have to worry about on those is pluck the flowers before they make seed. And then you won't have as bold of an infestation. Because if you want to dig those out, you're going to have to dig deep on those. And those can be, not every single kind and not every single plant, but they can be perennial. Unless you get the entire root out, that root stays and it will come back. All right? Now, there's another kind of deep rooting weed, one that we loved. It's called chameleon plant. You can look this up. It's like Hutenoia.
Okay, leave me out of this one. I do not love that plant.
Okay, we're going to start from the beginning because it was a friend of Ed's who gave us this plant. Beautiful plant, really gorgeous plant. Has this beautiful red-tipped leaves and this sweet little like mistletoe-like flower on it. It's just phenomenal. And it fills up a space and it floats in the wind, but it roots like a mint, you know, it goes down, or like I mentioned, like the liriope goes down and up and down and up. It doesn't fall over and root, it just goes down and up. But when it goes down and down further and go a little further. So to dig that out, you've got to dig 2 feet down into the soil to get every single.
We had to redig an entire flat.
Rip out an entire garden bed, and we actually have pictures of that in one of our presentations. It was heartbreaking. We have some of it saved in a pot that we do. Hopefully, it'll come back this year. That's when.
But that's an example of if you like something, even if it's invasive in a pot, sometimes it's okay.
And again, this is a ton of information. Some of it may or may not apply to you. And if you're a new gardener and you're trying to clean up a whole garden bed, don't worry about what's a weed and what's not a weed. If you like it, leave it. If you don't, put some paper on it and just smother it out. You know, if it's a big section.
And if you don't like it, the main thing is to cut it back before it's
just before it seeds. Yeah.
Seeds.
And then you know.
Michelle says hi, Hunter.
Hi, Hunter. Michelle says hello.
Yeah, she's sleeping.
She's sunbathing right
Yeah.
now. So here's another example. As we move over to the side here, as we'll wrap this up with this beautiful plant here. This guy, not the one I'm touching, I'm just fixing this because I don't want it to get stuck in its little cage. Down below is the green leaf is woodland phlox.
This stuff down here.
Beautiful, beautiful blue flower. And the blue flowers on this guy will come up like to about here. Can you see my hands, guys?
No.
To like here. They'll be tall above this greenery, okay? And it's light and airy. It's not a very dense or matting kind of, like a hosta leaf can be flat. And this guy, as you notice, he's just going. He falls over and he goes. He falls over and he goes. Are you laughing at me or the cat?
2 things happened at the same time.
Oh.
Hunter was trying to catch something in the air, so totally was upstaging you. And then
Fantastic.
Michelle said, yeah, like that works for goutweed.
Right. Goutweed is like that chameleon plant. Goutweed is one of the ones that it roots so deep that if you don't dig up every single last root of it, it's just going to keep going. And we're talking 2 feet or more. There's virtually no way to get rid of it, you know, unless you're... And Michelle, what Michelle is mentioning, the issue is that she doesn't have access to the entire patch. So, for example, where I'm standing, let's say that we wanted to get the weeds out of this area, okay? But look at all this empty space where the weeds can grow. They can go that way. So unless you get them out of the entire garden bed, there won't be an answer to a problem like that. So
All right, back to the phlox.
So what'll happen here is, see we have hostas here, and we have peonies here. Okay, look, see this? We didn't plant that close. See how it's going in there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, and some might consider this a ground cover, so we could let it go because it blooms. Hi, sweetie. Hi. Yes, we're talking about. It's called phlox. Phlox divericata.
Can you say phlox? I can't. How can I expect
I
her
think it's divericata. It's the woodland phlox. So what'll happen is, see how these peonies are so short right now? These won't bloom until they're like this big. These have months to go. But this stuff here, if you look really closely, you can see the buds on them. These are going to come, they're going to bloom, and then by the time these blooms crash, these won't even be blooming yet. So we might allow this to grow into here.
Right.
And it'll just come up and it'll share the space because these guys won't choke these guys out because they're not a heavy, matting, thick-rooted kind of plant. Hence, not a weed in this case. So, if I have confused everyone, I'm sorry. I thought
Just look at the kitty.
I thought this would be a fun and exciting topic. For me, it is because right now, this is the time to look for weeds. Everything's low, everything's new, everything's fresh.
Much easier to see.
And you can see in a space, like for example, look at this space here. Here's a good example. See in the front there, Ed, if you could put the camera down lower, you can see how all these sort of look the same. That's not a weed. We planted those intentionally.
And what is that?
That is a juga.
Ajuga. Sorry.
Okay, but
Not really.
okay.
Sounds like an old car horn.
And if you look to the right here, you'll notice a slightly different leaf. This is probably a violet. But because it's different and there's one here and one there and one there, we might be thinking, is that a weed? Does it belong here? Might want to pay attention to that and just monitor it.
And that's one of the things I've learned over the years too, is you'll say, let it go and let's see what it does.
And I have done that a lot. And I have allowed weeds to grow into nothing. They just keep growing. They grow taller and taller and taller. And they don't do anything pretty. And then eventually,
and then one day you say, "Yep, that's
a weed.
That's going to seed.
Flower. Yeah, that's going to.
Let's get that out now.
So let's get rid of it. Okay. Right. So the thing about it is that weeds aren't a big deal. They don't have to be scary. You don't have to worry about getting them all out all at the same time. If you see one, pull it. If you're not sure, leave it. And if you aren't certain if you want a flower to return over and over again, like Oenothera, it's coming up in a couple places. We planted Oenothera in one place, and last season it came up in 9 places because it seeded itself. We just pulled it, and we just plucked the flowers and pulled it out where we didn't want it, and it was no big deal. And it's only returned in, I think, 3 places this year. So that worked to our advantage because we like that plant. So we're going to wrap this up with our other programs. We're doing Instagram, What's in Bloom, almost every day. You can find some flowers on Instagram. On Saturdays, when we do our live, we do a What's in Bloom tour where we take you around and show you all those pretty new flowers that have bloomed during the week or new projects we finished. We also have our prayer flag program. If you would like to draw or have us draw a cloth representing some kind of wish you have for the community. Right now I think we're up to like 7 or 8. We want to keep going with that. There's plenty of room. We can always add more. We do meditation music after the lunch hour most days here. If you're walking by, if you feel so inclined, you can sit on the rocking chair or you can sit here in this wonderful space and enjoy the garden at eye level. If it's wet out, bring a blanket to sit on or something plastic. I think that's all the programs we have going on right now. We do ask you to like, follow, share our videos, share our page, ask people to join. We do have a fundraiser that we posted because all of our donations have ceased. All of our volunteers have ceased. Our internship program is on hold. Any grants you might know we can apply for, any companies that might want to sponsor some of our programs, please let us know. We have a new sponsor. We'll have a box opening as soon as that arrives.
Ooh.
I just got confirmation we have a new sponsor for an H2O program. So I'm not sure what we're going to call that or how we're going to address that, but we'll be talking about that. We'll do that box
And that
opening.
was a connection through one of our followers on Facebook.
That was actually a connection through one of our donors.
She follows us on Facebook too, and she is a wonderful donor.
She's actually considered one of our top fans on Facebook. She does a lot of comments and a lot of likes and such, so we're very appreciative about that. So I would love to talk more, but I think we can wrap this up. I hope that was interesting. Please, if I threw too much at you, just ask me any question. Take a picture. If you have a picture of a weed that you don't know it's a weed, and even if I can't answer it, we'll find someone who can, and we can help you out with that.
And it's Gina at KeelerGardens.org.
And please walk by any time, and I'm always willing to point things out and help out in any way we can. All right, take care, guys. Bye.